Hi, and welcome to Studio SN. My name is Sara Naumann, and today we're creating easy backgrounds with Spectrum Aqua Markers. Spectrum Aqua markers are so easy to use to create really fun card backgrounds. It only takes a few minutes to get a really pretty watercolor effect like the one that I've done for the front of my card here. So let's take a look at the supplies you'll need. Of course, you will want to have your Spectrum Aqua markers. And this is the primary set. There are lots of different color sets that you can find. And this one has a lot of really great basic colors. So you can notice that there are 12 pens in each set. You've got 6 on the front here. If you flip it over, you can see there's 6 more. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the case because what I really like about this, besides the beautiful colors, is that you've also got a storage container for the pens as well. So each pen has a little area where it sort of nests right into, you can kind of snap it into place. That way you can close this up really easily and store your markers. You can also have this open and flat on your work surface so that you've got your pens ready at hand, but they're not rolling all over and getting perhaps lost in and among all of your other artwork as you're working. Now each one of the pen sets also has a little swatch sheet inside here too, so you can tell at a glance what all of those colors are. So the 2 colors that I'm going to be working with today are orange and sunset. So I'm going to go ahead and get those pens out, close up my case and set that aside because I want to just show you what the markers look like without the caps on. So you'll notice that there's a gray band on one side of each that is not on the other side. Because these are dual tipped, that little gray band helps to tell you that this is the side with the brush tip. So this is a bigger tip. It's a nice flexible tip. If you go to the other side, you've got the fine tip on here. So you can get into detail areas with this tip. Now what I'm going to do is bring in some other supplies to create my background. And I need to have a clear acrylic block. You can also work onto your craft sheet, but I find that the clear acrylic block really acts nicely as a palette. Now because these are water-based markers, they react with water, so I'm going to bring in a spritzer bottle with some water as well. And to do my background, I also need to have a brayer. This is how I'll get the color from the palette onto my paper. Speaking of paper, I'm working with watercolor paper for this card. Now you can do this with regular smooth cardstock. I like to have the watercolor paper because I was able to get the texture of that watercolor paper as well. Now this watercolor paper is from Crafter's Companion, the same people who do the Spectrum Aqua pens. It's a 300 GSM weight, so it's a nice sturdy weight for this. So what I'll do is kind of set these things aside, set my brayer aside and my paper aside, and put my pen onto my block. So I'm going to start again with the brush tip of this, and this is the orange color, and I'm just going to scribble this onto the block in one section, and then I'm going to come back in with my sunset and scribble this on here too. So I'm going for a kind of tone on tone effect, and then I'm just going to spritz this pretty lightly. I'm not flooding the block, but I am getting enough water on here so that it is puddling a little bit. And then when I've got my watercolor paper here and my brayer, I'm first going to pick up some of the orange on here. Make sure my brayer is actually rolling, and then simply brayer it across onto my cardstock. Now I could stop here, but I want to pick up a little bit of the sunset as well, going the same direction, and you'll notice that I'm able to get a really pretty two-tone effect, a nice watery effect. But the two are not blurring into one another. They do remain fairly separate. So you can see the darker color here and the lighter color here. Now what you can do as well at this point, this is really pretty as it is, you can also come in back with your mister and give another spritz or 2 or 3. Let's do that. And really allow those colors to mix and blend with one another. And then of course you can come back in with your brayer if you want to too. Let's see what that'll do. Hold this down and blur these out into one another. That gives you a really nice soft pretty effect. And then what you can do is simply let it air dry or blot it with a tissue and stop that color. So you'll notice here when the area where I've got more water, where I spritzed more heavily, this is a really soft, pretty watercolor effect. This area up here where I didn't have so much water when I came back in and spritzed, this still remains quite crisp actually. You've got some definition on here too. So whichever way you go, however much water you add, this is all you need to do for that technique. And of course, once you get going, you can use up the rest of the color on your palette. You can see there's still some more color on here, and really create lots of backgrounds to have on hand. So what I've done, once my background is dry, and it only takes a couple of minutes, if your watercolor paper does curl up, just put it under a stack of books and let it flatten out there for a little bit. And then you can go ahead and put it onto the front of your card. So here I've just simply mounted it up onto white cardstock, and then I put it up onto a craft colored card blank. I think you can see this. It's a little tricky up against the mat. And then because I wanted to show off that beautiful background, I kept the rest of the card pretty simple. So just one little element down here. This is a butterfly die cut, and this is from hot off the press. It's the 10 Tiny Things and Shadows set. So you've got the butterfly, which is one of the 10 tiny things, and then the shadow is this border cutting die. So you don't have to trim around the outside edge of that butterfly to get a perfect shadow effect. And I've just simply popped this up onto white cardstock, a little bit of red cardstock. That's up on foam tape. I have a strip of craft cardstock going across here, mounted up onto red, a little bit of baker's twine, and a bow here. The little hello on here is also from hot off the press. It's one of their gold tiny words and phrases dazzles, which just fit perfectly on there. I also have some gold jewel dazzles here in the corners to act as a frame on here as well. So this is how you can create a very quick and easy card background with Spectrum Aqua Markers. I hope you enjoyed today's show. For more ideas and inspiration, please stop by my website at saranaumann.com. If you enjoyed today's video, I invite you to subscribe to Studio SN on YouTube, and I'll keep you updated with a new video every Wednesday. Thank you for joining me on Studio SN, and I'll see you again next time.